Hey, it's Chris, Liege Games. Let's do this. Kickstarter roundup, everything that's new this week, and we're going to be having a little bit of discussion of everything else as well, because there's tons of stuff going on, because Ignite told me I need to do it. So, let's just get right into it. Just a little preamble, and then we'll go, because this is going to be a long one, because there's a lot of different interesting projects to talk about with a couple updates on some of the other stuff that's already out there. If you missed the news post earlier this week, if I can get to 10,000 by the end of the year, I'm just going to do a big giveaway. Big giveaway. Like triple digits worth of dollars worth of games, if that made sense, right? Like, I'll give somebody like a big pledge for something, Kingdoms Forlorn, Aeon Trespass, something big. I'll send it to your way. So I'm going to try and get, I'm going to try and do that. Maybe reach out to a publisher or two. That's it. Let's go right into it because there's a lot to talk about. Okay, as always, like, comment, subscribe, help the algorithm, blah, 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 help me reach other people, go viral, recommend me elsewhere. Anyway, blah, 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 like all of that fun stuff. So, interestingly enough, when we get to the top of Kickstarter right now, 4 of the 6 slots are from new this week at the time of me filming this. The Unsettled, the Tang Gardens, Ahau, one of those. And already some of these are giving me different thoughts and twists than what I was expecting in the first place based on the campaign pages which I have glanced at. So, let's go right into it. Let's just start with the big dog on the block this week, and that's Unsettled. Reprint, new content, new planets. $500,000 in less than 24 hours at the time of me filming this, which again is pretty considerable when it comes to what to expect. I'm a little bit daunted though, as someone initially looking to get into this. If I were looking at this picture right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 planets. And I have people saying in the comment section that they love it and they go back to it and each play on each planet is different. My main question is going to be, do you have room for 9 different boxes? Like 4 boxes for Marvel United was hard enough. Because they're also poorly, boxed. They're about twice as big of boxes as they needed to be, maybe even 3 times. And so that's already going to be a concern of mine. Now, if you're going to have all 9 of these, I think someone said, what was it, like $230 was the all-in? Let's check here for a second. Let's just scroll down. $250 with 4 free items, a bundle of $285. So what are the items that you're getting? Module, task pack, bonus item, and sleeves. Okay, right? $210, no sleeves. $40 worth of sleeves? Good gosh. And that goes back, we'll do a side tangent here on sleeving. You don't need sleeves. You don't need sleeves. Nobody needs sleeves. No one's going to play this game enough to require sleeves unless you need the cards in absolute 100% pristine condition at all times. Because you're also not going to wear them out with 2 or 3 plays that you're going to get in the first year that you have this game. Ooh, I'm in that comment and I don't like it. I'm going to hear about it in the comment section from you guys. Anyway, this is more what I think of as a Euro-style exploration planet-faring game. And people love it. People really do like it. I guess, apart from that, survival puzzles, bizarre, wondrous. I mean, I look at this game and I go, up here in my head, I think I would like something like this. This puzzle-esque Euro resource management style of game. In my heart, though, I know that I am not going to get this played. I also look at this and I can't help but think of something along the lines of 7th Continent or 7th Citadel, which is going to be more of a lifestyle game, but 2, also it's going to be more of a solo or 2-player game, not necessarily a cooperative game like the cooperative games I enjoy playing. I mean, I don't know. I know there's a lot of cooperation, but it seems like a game almost like more like Kingdom Rush, where I feel like 1 or 2 players would have a great multi-handed aspect with this game. Now, obviously, they're hitting the quotes by all the big name people pretty hard in this campaign page, and that's okay. What we get into here is you're customizing games, personality traits, avatars, and trying to use different actions and getting more proficient in them to interact with your environment, to manipulate the environment, to rule bend in the environment, and to strategize how you're going to complete whatever you're required to complete. You're going to gain unusual items, actions, and creatures to help you survive in your task on these strange worlds. Again, production value is great. I just don't know if this is $200 worth of game that I want to buy. Because the other thing that I always look at when I see this, we'll go back up to this just for a side quick rant here. I can't help but wonder sometimes with large games with large production values like this. I would love to see a top 10 list from some of these places of games they bought versus games that they were sent to review. And, you know, I should do that myself, actually, because that would be an interesting look into things of how much potential, even unrecognized bias there is there. Because I think that some of the other bigger channels, like NPI and Shut Up and Sit Down, say what you want about them, they look at that when that's part of this. I'm not saying there's anything wrong and that it's there, but I mean, we're all, you know, having our own biases in our own ways. And I wonder how much that would change if all of a sudden they said, okay, you need to pay $210 for this. Is it still going to, one, are you going to get it? Or two, would you have gotten it? Or three, would it have made your list? And I mean, again, it's an interesting aspect of things because for me personally, I have a bad track record with games I love at the retail side of things versus the crowdfunding side of things. Those two are completely different. I have actually a higher track record on games I've traded for than some of the other two in those categories, which is, you know, again, saying something about me more than anything else. But going back here, okay, you're getting all of these different planets. It runs you through all different 9 planets. I'm not going to run you through them. You've got new stuff. You've got all of this other stuff. I have no clue how different or how unique all of these are. And you're getting a little bit of everything else. Survival pack is $5. Extra add-on specialization. Oh, this is a whole new module. This is a whole new box. So you're looking at least 10 boxes, 11 boxes potentially with this. Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot. I know it's like self-contained and you're like mixing and matching with this. They've got the core set of stuff and then the planetary set of stuff. But I'm looking around me in my room right now. Like, I don't have stuff for, you know, half a dozen more boxes before I get rid of stuff, let alone 10 in one game. And again, like, I can't tell you with any certainty that I'm not going to back this because I haven't looked at it since the first Kickstarter when I looked at a little bit of the gameplay and I thought it was a little bit too Euro-y for me. But that's a long time ago too. That's like what, like 2+ years or so right now. And so I'm going to give this one a harder look in terms of some of the gameplay because I just don't know. Lately, there's been a couple games, especially from Chang'an earlier in the month that just ended. I went back and I looked at that and there wasn't any gameplay on it. And so I didn't end up backing it because there were 2 preview videos in a rulebook. And sometimes I just need to see, and if you're like me, like, okay, I need a hands-on what does this look like? Even if it's not like a whole big production playthrough, I need something. And unfortunately, when I look even on the page here, there's the how to play, which is fine. And then Board Game Co's review will have some of that as well. But that's about it. You know, that's kind of sparse for a game that, you know, is getting all these accolades at the top to not have, okay, some more actual content that's not just a little bit hype-ish. It seems weird to me that there's nothing else on this page. And, you know, maybe there's too many good things. Maybe that's just a small smattering of things. Because I know, again, I mean, you don't get an 8.3 on Board Game Geek for being bad. You don't. So the rulebook is there. Again, there's enough info out there that I'm just going to go do my own digging because only one of these videos is probably going to be of interest to me. But Orange Nebula, I mean, again, they have solid stuff. It's more a question of whether or not it's right for you rather than is it a good game. Because I think with a couple of these companies lately, Orange Nebula, Chip Theory, Burnt Island, you know, you're not going to worry about necessarily the game itself not being good. You know, I just threw those out there randomly. There's 1 or 2 others that I'm blanking on offhand. But it's more a question of how good is it for you rather than anything else. And again, people are balking at the price of Kingdoms Forlorn. Yeah, Ignite, they are. I'm sorry, they are. It's a lot. But is this any different? No, this is not any less. It's just one has all of a sudden a ton of plastic, and people, you know, shout it from the rooftops that it's not value-wise good. But when you get 10 different boxes, somehow then it becomes a better value. And again, you could probably argue over which one you think is actually going to have more total playtime or content between the two of them, given the vastness of both of them. And I don't think either one would be a bad argument for which one has more. So, again, just food for thought on this. Again, as something to think about on whether or not this is right for you. Because, again, I'm going to be hitting remind me right here, and in 12 days I will not be able to tell you right now where I'm going to be out in this game. So, Unsettled, there you go. Now we have Tang Garden. Again, I was kind of wondering about this. Was it going to be a big hit? Was it going to sort of follow up as strongly? And especially for just a modular expansion, they're really hitting it out of the park right now with almost 300,000 on the same day that Unsettled launched. Again, like February has been solid top to bottom. Say what you want. Say, you know, if there's stuff that you're like getting a ton of, but I wasn't kidding last week when I sort of, you know, pseudo hyped the title of they're trying to get you to back something. There is so much variety. There is so much solid game work. And I think that's almost the problem is you can't look at any of these and say, wow, that doesn't look like a good game. Like the problem is these all look like 7s to 8s out of 10. And it's just which one for you is going to be a 9 and which one for you is going to be a 6. And that's the hardest part of crowdfunding nowadays, which has led to me actually decreasing my amount I'm getting because it's harder to tell. What are we getting here? $51 for an expansion. Again, that's a little more than I would have expected, but at the same time, there are 4 modules to this expansion, so I'm not surprised either. Final expansion, I'm always intrigued when they say that. Adding more scenarios. This is 4 seasons. You know, autumn, spring, summer, and winter, and they run through the mechanisms that you're getting in each of the different seasons. And I would assume you just can pick one. Oh, sorry. Actually, you're getting more. You're getting Equinox and Solace, as well as a little bit of everything else. And some stretch goals. So, again, I don't know if this is a good deal for the €85 base game plus the expansion. I'm guessing it probably is not a bad deal. What is that, like 90, $92? So, I mean, if you go over here, Board Game Oracle, and you start to look at some of the in-stock stuff, I mean, you're looking low 40s for price before shipping, and most of it not having necessarily free shipping. And even if you go to Card House and get the free shipping there, it's $45. So $45 plus, you know, yeah, I mean, this is probably about the same, and you're going to get all of this stuff too with the extra stuff. You know, it's probably not a bad deal. Now, do you need all of the expansions? Have you played through most of the expansions? I don't know. A modular Euro Zen-like set collection game. Again, I don't really... I feel weird on games like this when people, again, bash plastic on the miniature side of things, and then they're like, okay, look at all these decorations that we can give you. And it's like, well, yeah, it's doing the same thing. But again, like, I don't hear people rallying in the comment section on Reddit and Facebook and Board Game Geek going, oh gosh, look at these crappy cardboard decorations they've stuck us with. Oh, you're paying so much extra for those. You could just supplement those with cubes. Nobody says that. Anyway, side ramble over. Again, this is one of those games where I like the aesthetic a lot. I think, yes, the aesthetic is very good to look at, but I've never felt compelled to own this game. I just, again, something about it that has just never really intrigued me. There's enough information out there in terms of what you're getting. You're getting a little bit of stretch goal here as well to another layer of incentivization. So, again, if you're going to get it, you're probably much better off getting it now. This is probably a better deal than waiting, especially with all of this extra stuff. So, again, I think that was sort of the way with the first Tang Garden as well, which I don't blame them for. Tang Garden, my favorite. I haven't seen Stagmeyer's video anywhere, and then all of a sudden he's on the 2 big campaign pages. That's, I don't know, that's just weird to me. So, it's cool though. Something different, at least a little bit. Again, the Bazaar, their pledge manager, you can get some of their back product stuff as well. I think some of this stuff was a little bit harder to get because they didn't offer it widely at retail. I don't really know. And then returning backers, you're going to get a free upgraded minis. Okay. Again, it looks solid. It's a better deal than I was expecting. It's over $250,000. Check it out. So next up, we have 51st State, the Ultimate Edition. This thing is killing it. I had no clue what the backing was going to be like this, but it's got me even intrigued. And I'm going to be giving this one a harder look because I really do like engine building with some Take That. Portal Games has a real hit on their hands here, and they are exploiting it. Now, you can make a case that you don't really need another edition of this, that most of this stuff is available at retail, but they're putting something else out new for it, and they're sticking with a tried and true property, so I can't argue with that either in terms of success. So 211,000 euros is great for under 48 hours. Again, has the pedigree. Z Garcia doing the marketing and the drive for this game, his #1 game of all time, and other huge names here endorsing it as well. So it's not really a question of is it a good game. Again, it's another one of these on this list this week. Is it a great game for you or not? And this is what makes me really evaluate my own tastes when I see other people looking at things. Not because I'm trying to ride the hype gravy train, but because I'm examining my own biases and trying to say, okay, would I actually like this game? Because I've always had an inherent bias towards or against a game just based on what I think a game may be versus what it actually is. Now, this includes every expansion and every promo, and you can make a case of, how good it actually is for a deal of that aspect, because, even when you look at this pledge, the Ultimate Edition with the stretch goals. So you're getting everything for 80 euros, which is not a bad deal, but I'm also not sure how good of a deal it is, because I just don't know what some of this secondary market stuff with expansions for 51st State goes for on the secondary market, let alone at retail. By the way, when you're Googling 51st State, just don't Google 51st State alone. Make sure you put the board game title or board game wording after it, because otherwise you're going to get some vastly, vastly different results that are not going to give you things that you want to see. Now, interestingly enough, as I do a side tangent here, you go to Board Game Oracle, it really doesn't have a whole lot of the base stuff in stock anywhere. Now, it doesn't have all of the usual, dozen or so companies here, but that's really interesting because they're all out of stock. They're all, about 30-ish bucks. Same thing with the first expansion. Which expansion is this? This is Scavengers. And then we also have, what is this one? This one is Allies. Moloch is in stock everywhere. But again, okay, even if these were in stock, so what you're talking about, 10, let's say 11 bucks, average it there, 11 bucks, average it there, say 23 overall, another 11, make it 34, 34 plus this is another, we'll say another 35, so 65 bucks, getting all of that when you go back over here for 80 euros. What are we getting extra here? We're getting the upgraded stuff, and you're getting some of the promos. And let's get a better view. I don't really like that view there. You're getting the new expansion too. So I would say this is probably a good deal then. And when I analyze it from the market trend, and you're probably not going to get a better deal even if it's in stock, unless you have someone on Board Game Geek or Facebook or Reddit selling a package deal for less than this. But even then, the package deal would have to be like 50, 60-ish bucks, because you're getting this for 14 euros. So really what you're talking about is 66 euros. So 66 euros, a little over 70 bucks. Yeah. So, I mean, I think you're better off probably getting it now then, especially with the upgrade in the wooden stuff and the upgradable or deluxeifications with the little mini expansions here. So I would say no doubt after looking all of this, it's a better deal on here. And the drafting, I love the idea of drafting. And now again, hate drafting, love that too. Again, not a lot of people always do, but this game doesn't shy away from the take that, which I appreciate. You can do it or not, but it gives you what you want to do. Now, the producing the goods is something I'm not very good at. This is probably one of those games where I would be horrible at it, but I would like playing it. So I'm talking myself into 51st State Ultimate Edition the more I look at this page. Raising locations, using actions to do things on your action board, worker to another player's open production location. Okay. And deal with connection cards. And, again, the game, I guess, from this aspect, like I've seen, is do you need all of those expansions? The answer is no. The answer is always no, unless this is like your #1 game, like your Z Garcia, or you're like me with Marvel United and you've played it 30 or 40 times, and then you're looking for the variability and the mixability. Now, this has a new solo mode as well. So, again, rules are out there. Way too many videos are already out there because it's been out for years. And so you don't really need me to tell you whether or not it's for you. If you need to go figure that out, read the rulebook or check out some gameplay. Portal Games, though, again, solid company in terms of gameplay. So I don't think there's a whole lot of question whether or not, again, it's going to be good. It's just going to be, it's going to cost you, over 100 euros to get the whole thing. And that's more of the issue, whether or not you pick up some on the secondary market if you're not a completionist right now. So I will be heavily checking this out later. Next up, Lobotomy 2 Manhunt. This is on the list of Ignite's top asylum crawlers, if you were wondering about that from last week. $112,000. The big criticism I saw when people were asking about this and following this up was that people who had it, it said it was really hard, said the theme was very unique, and the rule book was not very good whatsoever. And that kind of was what I was wondering when I saw that the Board Game Geek page last week had a link at the top of the description for the revised rulebook, which is always a little bit of a and I saw someone else say that this is not compatible with the first one. So if you're a backer of the first one, how do you feel about that as well? Now, it's offering a new expansion here as well, the Inferno expansion, whatever that is. I'm not really sure. I haven't really looked at this page before I'm doing this video, so that's always dangerous. Backers of the campaign, you're going to get it free. Okay, 79 euros, bunch of plastic. So I guess, this is no different than what the Ultimate Edition of 51st State would be either. So that's a good comparison. Inferno expansion only on Gamefound. Now, I saw something interesting on the 51st State page, which gave a little Gamefound exclusive icon. So I'm wondering if people are going to adopt that kind of like they did the Kickstarter exclusive little emblem. But interesting. And wow, a bunch of add-ons here as well. So it's not just the expansion. So another expansion, character expansions. So 5 character expansions as well, which is going to get you well over $200 by the time it gets shipped. So that's a big bump there. It's a big upgrade. You got some stretch goals here. I don't really know about the mechanics of this game, so I can't speak to it. Apart from the fact that it's set in an asylum and it's a dungeon crawl. So let's see if we get something interesting down here in terms of what's in here. Daily unlocks. What are we getting here? How it's played. Choose a patient. It's scenario-based. Goal is the same. Escape and avoid lobotomy. Well, I mean, that makes sense, right? Each character has specialization, asymmetry, statistics, and disorders, and that their unique innate abilities is what separates them. You want to build up your insanity in order to get yourself out. Equip yourself and get ready for horror counters. So regular hospital staff or their monsters trying to get you, you can't figure out which ones they are, so you can't take the chance. Use your madness to your objective. Use your madness to your advantage. Learn to play. Preview. Learn to play. That's not very encouraging either. I not seeing any gameplay on here always makes me a little bit nervous. Game review. Now, he calls it a game review here. Is this actually? Okay, no, it is. Okay, it is actually a review. So maybe that's a little bit more insightful, but otherwise there's just one learn to play. So, okay, maybe we're going to have a few others down here, though. That's good. Okay, but that's it. I mean, again, the question is, and I don't see how this is necessarily answered. There's a little bit of specific on here. But how does this differ? Why should I get this into my collection as opposed to all the other insane dungeon asylum crawlers that I have? So check it out, Titan Forge, Gamefound. Ahau, Rulers of Yucatan. Again, Euro-style worker placement engine builder. It's funded, $35,000. Again, if you're backing it on day one, you're going to get a free expansion pack for $12, which, again, like, I feel weird about these nowadays because if you're not religiously checking it when it launches, if you weren't aware, especially if this launched on an off day, like not Big Tuesday, like on a Wednesday or a Thursday, I mean, that's easy to miss out on. And the question then, especially from a small time one, I would do at least 48 or 72 hours if you're going to do that in the first place, because now that you've barely funded in, the first 24 hours, are you going to stagnate and drop off? Because that happens with a lot of the bigger campaigns when they do this, let alone some of the smaller ones, because this is not a small thing either. And I'm not sure what the difference is between these pledges. Nothing as far as I can tell. So, again, take it for what you will. Probably 1.5 to 2.5 hours. Goes through all of what you're going to be getting here. Again, the map reminds me more of Blood Rage. The aesthetic is somewhat similar, obviously, but completely different at the same time. Stretch goals. Again, so we've hit the first stretch goal. And gives you a little bit of overview on what you're going to be doing. Although, again, a lot of this is also just board game jargon. Like, I don't actually understand how to play the game based on any of these things. Rado's got a video here. A couple other quotes. Solo mode. Tabletop simulator. Here we go. I mean, we get down halfway and we can start to see how to play. Movement and action. So what you're doing here is you're selecting a region. You simultaneously select 2 region cards from your hand. One on the left, that determines which region your ruler's going into. But if you go into the same one, you conflict and military strength. And then you also take a pyramid tile occupied by your ruler. Action phase then is where you're placing your workers in a region that's adjacent where your ruler is. And you got a couple other actions you can do with that. So how to play, god powers. Again, I don't know. Like, I look at Euro like this and I go, again, it looks solid, but Is this going to be more than a 7 or a 7.5? I don't know. Especially as a non-Euro person, I have trouble looking at it from that aspect. And if you're looking at $85 for a non-deluxe version, where a lot of the other big Euros are deluxeified at this point and having a lot more bling and a lot more hype. So I understand why people are going to get it. Now, again, I guess $65, never mind. I mean, it's got an expansion too if you're a day one backer. But I don't know. It's interesting. What do you Euro people think about this? Do you guys look at this and you look at the rulebook and you say this is something different or not? Let me know in the comment section. Next up, we have Aldarra, which is another weird take on things. And I say that in a good way, but also I sort of question mark way. Because it's a 4X flying ship area control style game. And it's got a couple unique aspects here. One, huge funding goal. And again, I didn't think this was going to raise anywhere near this amount in day one, 134,000, which is amazing. But it's got a $195,000 funding goal. Now you're getting freebies here on the early bird with some dice, but the pledge levels also are very, very interesting. It's going to cost you almost $70 just to get the STL files for all of the miniatures. That's a lot of money because there's 42 miniatures. And again, some of these miniatures are pretty decently big sized. And again, these are nice miniatures. But when you start to get into the game price itself, without any miniatures, it's going to cost you $177. So if you thought you were bulking at Kingdoms Forlorn or you're bulking at Unsettled all in, well, this is kind of that with just the base game alone. And somehow this is 30% off the MSRP. So you're looking at what, like, I don't know, nearly $300 MSRP for a game like this. And I just look at this and I go, that is a ton of money. That is a ton of money. Now, with an expansion, no minis, again, basically the same price as, base game with minis. And so if you're an all-in person, even at the early bird, it's $350. That's insane. $400 for the early bird with the STLs. And there are 94 people doing that. With RPG as well. But I just go, speaking of things that I would be concerned about value-wise, I mean, this is a lot of expensive plastic. This is a ton. And when it goes head-to-head with some of the other 4Xs that have come out in the last year on crowdfunding, I'm looking at you, like Voidfall. It's kind of hard for me to compare one to the other, as one has more proven track record, and this one is a bit of an unknown for, literally, an all-in on this is going to get you, 2 to 3 times the price of Voidfall. And that's the question, I guess, is how willing and how much do you want miniatures with your 4X game? Again, it runs you through all of the miniatures, but this is a ton of money. This is a ton of money for a game. Not a game with like 6 expansions, but like a game. 2 additional factions in the expansion. Learn to play. The rulebook is there, so you can take a look at it, and so there's no question mark. But there's also a how to play, and I think that's maybe close to being about it. Oh yeah, sorry. There's a how to play, and then there's a couple previews. And a gameplay video from the company themselves. So, again, like, you're raising triple digits. There's any non-paid content on the page, which, again, is kind of weird, just like Unsettled. When you know that there easily could be stuff out there, it's a lot for me to do that, especially with something like I mentioned about Chang'an, which was like $40 for almost 10 times that price. Yeah, right? Yeah, Ignite, right, I know. So, again, they break down the pledge levels here. You can check it all out. The shipping is going to be massive. I can't believe the shipping is not going to be anywhere actually, almost, 1.5 times this. So, again, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Aldarra, if you're really interested, I really think you should check it out firsthand. Watch some of the gameplay content. But there you go. Next up, we have Starship Interstellar. Again, this is a very interesting game. Very interesting price point. Again, free probe miniature. Lots of little early birds and freebies going around this week, I guess. Just under funding. So, it's clearly going to fund because this is also less than 24 hours in. What are we getting? Essentially, we've solar extracted energy from the sun. Sun's going red giant. It's going to destroy Mercury, Venus, and Earth. And so we're building this big intergalactic spaceship to take us to some other planet outside of our solar system so that we can hopefully repopulate the human race, essentially. 48-hour early bird. Again, $100 pledge is the base pledge for this game just from the get-go. And that's with the early bird miniature. So, I don't know. Again, this is something completely outside my comfort zone. I look at this as the Plastic Planet set. Like, that doesn't really appeal to me. It reminds me more of Masters of the Universe from Simon, where it's a little plastic dome. And that's okay, but is that really adding a ton aesthetically? For me personally, it's not. But for a lot of the big spacefaring games, I know that's a big thing with Eclipse and Twilight Imperium having some of that 3D element. So, again, how does this differ? How intriguing, how engaging is it from some of those other ones? I have no idea. It talks about the different phases here of what you're going to be doing. Extraction is getting resources. You can consume some of your resources to build stuff. Planetary production, traveling around. And then you also have the salvation phase between going back using one of these other sides of these tokens that you're using, or passing and getting resources based on what your opponents are doing. And you can use it in different ways. So, rulebook, tabletop simulator, a couple big channel previews, learn to plays, preview. Not a whole lot of anything but previews. So again, we have just preview, how to play, preview, pretty much. Which, again, like, man, I don't know. I'll leave it at that. You guys can say what you want about it in the comment section. I just think it's weird that we're seeing a lot more previews and a lot less of the other, which I guess goes to show you more than anything else. That's what people are clicking on and watching. So, you know, if that's where the clicks are going, that's what people are going to do from a publisher side of things. Again, this aesthetic appears very similar to some of the other stuff we've seen. It clearly, though, especially with this game board, is doing something different. So if you're interested, check it out. Again, this is outside my wheelhouse, so I defer to other people to tell you whether or not this is a good value at a $100 pledge for a game like this. So I'll leave it up to you. Next up, we have Fantasy Commander. Detailed miniatures, dueling game, hexagonal war game with a fantasy theme, essentially. Back us in the first 12 hours. $49 gets you the miniatures. Oh, no. Nope. Still no miniatures. Now, $99 gets you miniatures with the early bird to go. Now, they detail it, and again, I don't like this. I didn't notice this when I was scrolling here. Without stretch goals. And without miniatures. And with stretch goals, they're going to cost you an extra $10. No, it's the same thing. It doesn't include stretch goals at either level. One's just an early bird. So the only way you're going to get stretch goals is to spend $100. That's kind of meh. I don't really like that. You're pledge locking all of your stretch goals. Then there's no reason to even have these bottom level ones, I guess. Unless you really, really don't want miniatures, but then you're not going to get some of the stuff. And if it's gameplay stuff, well, that's a big deal. If it's not, then whatever, I guess. I guess it's somewhat reasonable then. You've got about half a dozen expansions already to get go, and a solo single-player campaign. Again, lots of stuff. Wow, this is a ton of stuff, actually. A dozen, like more like 2 dozen. Preview, one play video from more of a war game side of things. Some stretch goals that are unlocked here, but I see no... Again, like, I'm not into this at all, but when I see tabletop skirmish war game, why would I get this over stuff that's already established heavily at the retail side of things? With the fear that especially that this may not be widely supported on the retail aspect, you know, a year or 2 years down the road, when there's, you know, a dozen out there already that are more established. And I don't see that, especially just looking at the page. I mean, again, I'm not going to say it's bad, but it's the first thought that goes through my head. So if you're interested, Fantasy Commander, check it out. Next up, Rumors and Legends. Reimagination of a classic mystery deduction board game. And I have no clue. I'm not familiar with the original. So take that for what you will. Follow Suspect. This is, okay, sort of a deduction social dynamic game. You have what appears to be different characters with different creatures associated with them. Mythological creatures, if you will. Packing your bag, so going to one of these locations. How to play, preview, playthrough. Okay, there's a playthrough. Preview, playthrough, same playthrough. Gameplay highlights. Okay, here we go. Solution. So is this like bigger version of Clue? $75 to get you the game with miniatures and stretch goals, though. With acrylic standees is going to be $55. And what is the difference here? Metal tokens and metal dice for another $50. Again, I have no idea what this is originally from, so some people must clearly have some interest in it or some nostalgia from it. I'd never heard of this, so I must be the only one. But I thought I'd mention it. Rumors and Legends. Check it out. I saw this one on Facebook a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago maybe. Blink's game system with a new party expansion. I don't know. You're pulling like these lights out of a bag, and I'm not really quite sure more than that in terms of what was presented when it was on one of the Facebook crowdfunding groups. Clearly, 9 different games they say here that you can play. Party pack, whatever that is, a couple more ways to play it as well. This is hitting lights on a game, in a way. Oh, okay, so all these are the different games. That's Tangle, Mimic, Lazy Ants. Okay, I have no idea. I think kids would like this, but for me, I have no interest in it. Let's see how much. Let's see what we're looking at here. $59 for just the expansion, $99. I mean, again, like, this seems like one of those things like my wife would buy for our kids, and they would play a couple times, and then it would sit in the bin with the rest of our toys. You know, like one of those things. That's how I look at this. And maybe as a good party game to play, you know, every once in a while when you have a bunch of people over as like a party thing. But again, for like 150 or even $100, that's a lot of money on a party game. So take that for what you will. I know that there's going to be a market for this. There clearly is. It wouldn't be getting 23,000, but is it going to fund? I have no idea. I think you'd be better off with like 1 or 2 really, really good games. Maybe 1 short, 1 medium, and 1 long that you could play with this. But again, are you willing to pay for this? I mean, because it is what it is. I'm not saying it's overpriced by any means, but I just don't know. So check it out. Blink's game system. Now, the next couple are just ones that I wanted to mention. More indie small games that aren't quite funded yet, so we'll go through these very briefly. Circuitry, I talked about this one last week. It's about in a little over a third of the way. I have no clue what's going on with this game. You're matching these up, but I was trying to read through the brief description on this page, and it uses basically like more real life terminology between the charge point and returning to the master node on your circuit board. And my brain just sort of went on La La Land. So I had a hard time keeping up with this, even though I don't think it's that hard of a concept. And I think that a lot of this stuff is already made, because down here when you go to the bottom, the designer has a lot of this already packed and shipped or at least printed already. So again, it's going to be interesting to see what this looks like in terms of whether or not it's going to fund. And it's not a bad price by any means. You get the print and play, and then you can also just get 1 game for $26. But even $4,000 with a $26 game is a lot of money. So again, I don't know if it's good or not. It's sort of a spatial, abstract-ish game where you're trying to get your piece across the board. So if you're interested, definitely check it out. It's different, but I don't know how different it is and whether or not it's going to hold up or if it's just a good filler. I have no idea. This stuff this week is just all over the place. I wasn't kidding. Twin Palms. This is a unique trick-taking game where you can put pairs into the tricks. There's no trump, but you follow suit, and it depends on how you use your pairs, essentially. 3 different suits here that you can see. And just 1 pledge level, $20. Draw 10, bid and bet, play tricks. That's always a tough aspect for me in these games, because I feel like that's either you really like bidding or you really don't like bidding in the first place, or you just want to take the most tricks. At least it's not more of a partner game, it looks like, so it's just an individual. And shipping's $5. So again, it's not that this doesn't look solid, but it's a lot for a $20 game to get $10,000. So we'll see. Twin Palms, check it out. Mageling, Rise of the Ancient Ones. Dice placement adventure game with an expansion. I mean, $4,000 of $6,000, so let's see what the price point is here too for this. Again, $20. Okay. $40 with the Rise of the Ancient Ones and the promo pack. Okay. $60 for, the Arcane Edition. That's the difference between the 40 and this one, the 40. The Storm Mage and the Swamp Wizard. What's the difference here? Oh, this is just the expansion. This is just the base game. I'm a little confused when I'm looking at these. Maybe I'm just looking at this too much and it's up too late doing this. But this one right here, $40 gets you the base game, the expansion with the stretch goals, and the promo. I look down here. This one gets you the expansion, the Arcane Edition. So is that the difference? That this is just a higher version? Anyway, so what is this game at all? I have no clue what we're doing when it gives me those mechanics. Okay, a little bit of everything. Power orbs, spending your dice to draw cards from decks, endless combinations of different things you can draw from each of the decks, an evolving adventure campaign using these cards that get introduced, and a little bit of everything. I mean, the aesthetic isn't my favorite, but it definitely looks like it could be something as well. So, base game's 20, expansion's 20, Arcane Edition is 40. What's the Arcane Edition, I guess? I don't see so far what's there. What's in the box? Double-sided playmat and dice. This looks like what you're going to get extra there. I've never even heard of this game, so got some stretch goals here. I have no idea. Some good comments. I mean, you have some bigger name comments here from a couple of the bigger channels, so interesting. I don't know. I'd have to see it in action, but if you're interested, again, I like talking about it, but there's Mageling, Rise of the Ancient Ones. Way too many cats. 50% funded on day one. Way too many cats, because cats are going to get funded here on Kickstarter. That's what we see. $29 stretch goals, and then $49 includes the expansion and a playmat. You're cat in the game for $200. We already got 2 people in at that. So what are you doing here? Spatial puzzle drafting, choosing your cats, cat toys, and the kittens that you're taking on. So sort of along the lines of what Flat Out Games has been doing with some of their more recent hits, it sounds like. The cards themselves in the upper left-hand corner tell you a little bit of what they want, it looks like. And you can slide them into certain slots and rinse and repeat, sort of a King Domino-like game. Or more maybe a Calico-ish. Yeah, rules, reviews, preview, preview, preview. Okay. Why back now? Might be hard to find campaign. Yeah, I mean, this just might not get picked up. So, again, cats don't do anything for me with this aesthetic, but it's an interesting concept. And, again, 200 people are getting in on it right now. So if you want to be one of them, check it out. All right, there we go. That's it for this week. A ton of solid stuff and games like 51st State and Unsettled that I like the idea of, but I'm not sure how they're going to fit into my collection because I definitely don't have anything like them, and I know everyone else is hyping them. And so, am I riding the hype train, or are they games that I'm actually interested in and I'm not just FOMOing? That's probably the biggest thing for me this week. And I'm looking forward right now. Over the beginning of this next week, my best of or most anticipated ones for March is going to be coming out. And I'll tell you right now, March is going to be potentially very tough. The end of this month, also this very last week, is going to be a little bit interesting as well. Thankfully, I'm not backing a whole lot else right now, but there's a lot that I'm sort of going 50-50, 75-25 on. So, you know, a little bit of awareness there. And I'm also going to be having a little bit of a look back, see, you know, what about all those Kickstarters I talked about a year ago? Where are those from January, February, March of last year? Are they still as hyped? How do you feel about them now looking back on things? And if you missed it, I'm going to be doing a 10,000 subscriber video. And if you missed it, I'm going to be doing a 10,000 subscriber giveaway. I've already got one big name person potentially on board, and I'm reaching out to a couple other publishers that I have good relationships with, that seeing if they're just willing to support me and, you know, help me out along the way. So if you're watching this and you're interested, encourage other people, because the sooner we get there, the sooner you can earn yourself some gameage as well. So there you go. That's all I got. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Hopefully you're not working all weekend like I am, because I am, because it's ugh. Otherwise, you know, yeah, that's all I got. I got no end to Ramble this time. I mean, I do. I can always end Ramble if I really want to, but I choose not to sometimes. Sometimes. Is he going to do it? Is he not going to do it? Are you staying around long enough to see? Should I get a PlayStation 5 on top of my Switch? The Elden Ring release lately, with the hype of that being better than Breath of the Wild with the open world situation, really has me concerned. If you want to talk about spending a ton of money, Aldarra money, there in one setting, that all of a sudden has got me peaked. Anyway, that's it. Fiend, done. Yeah, I'm done.